Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. It's been a rare week in politics and finance. Two budgets in 1 week. First, Joe Oliver's Conservative budget 2 days ago, and now Charles Souza's very different Ontario budget, which we'll discuss with the Finance Minister in just a moment. First, a look at the highlights, and we heard Premier Wynne say this just yesterday when she opened up the Union Pearson Express. The days of underinvesting in infrastructure are over, and here are the details. The province plans to spend $31.5 billion on infrastructure over the next 10 years for this Moving Ontario Forward program. $16 billion of it in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, $15 billion of it for the rest of Ontario. To be spent on what? Well, for example, GO Transit and Regional Express Rail. That would be electrified service every 15 minutes. The Confederation Line in Ottawa. The Hurontario Main LRT, just announced the other day in Mississauga and Brampton. Rapid transit in Hamilton, still unspecified. They're waiting for Hamilton to get their act together and figure out what they want. Bus rapid transit in York Region. Just outside this studio, the Eglinton Crosstown LRT in Midtown Toronto. The Finch West and Shepherd East LRTs in the north of Toronto. The Scarborough Subway in northeast Toronto. Waterloo Region's Ion Rapid Transit. And lest you think it's only for the big cities, there's a $100 million Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund for small, rural, and northern projects. Now, the Finance Minister said today he wanted to take the assets that the province of Ontario has and unlock their value. For example, selling 15% at first of the publicly held shares in Hydro One, eventually to sell off 60% of the shares of Hydro One. That's the electricity transmission company that at the moment is publicly held. You heard about this the other day as well. The province will authorize up to 450 grocery stores to sell beer. This was first promised 30 years ago by David Peterson, the then Liberal Premier, in an election campaign. He's actually running to become Premier. We do like to gamble, we do like to drink. Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation turned over $1.92 billion to the provincial coffers. That's casinos, that's lottery tickets. And we like to drink our booze. The LCBO, Liquor Control Board of Ontario, remits $1.88 billion to the provincial coffers. Okay, let's check out some more numbers from Budget 2015. For example, total government spending for the fiscal year that we now enter, that's 15-16, $131.9 billion. The biggest chunk of it, as it always is, on healthcare, $50.8 billion. That's 42% of program spending, which is down. They are breaking the healthcare cost curve. In fact, they're trying to hold and say they will hold annual healthcare increases to less than 2%. The second biggest number in the budget, of course, education, $25.2 billion. That's just about 21% of program spending. Now, you want to spend that much money in this province, that means going into debt. The third biggest item that we spend money on in this budget is interest on the debt. $11.4 billion, that's 14% of the budget. The net debt, in other words, all the money borrowed from Confederation to the end of March, $284 billion. The net debt to GDP ratio, in other words, debt as a percentage of our economy, 39.4%, which is high by Ontario historic standards. But look at folks, we're a long way from Greece, which is 160%, and Japan, which is 220%. Now, some more numbers. Our growth rates anticipated for this year are actually pretty buoyant by historic standards. 2.7% is what the forecast, the average forecast of private sector economists are forecasting. How come? We've got low oil prices, low interest rates, a lower Canadian dollar, and an improving U.S. economy, all helping Ontario's economy at the moment. Now, the deficit, one of the toughest set of numbers you're going to see tonight. The deficit for the year we've just emerged, 2014-15, $10.9 billion. The forecast for this year, $8.5 billion. For next year, $4.8 billion. And then the Liberals insist by 2017-18 fiscal year, the budget will be balanced. Coincidentally, an election year. One last thing, for the history nuts among us. This is the 400th anniversary of the first Francophone presence in Ontario, and so the government is allocating $5.9 million to support events marking the 400th anniversary of Samuel de Champlain's passage through Ontario. So to our Francophone viewers, bon anniversaire. Let's now go through the details of Ontario Budget 2015 with Charles Souza, Ontario's Minister of Finance and the MPP for Mississauga South, who joins us now from the Frost Block at Queen's Park. And Minister, as I welcome you to the program tonight, you tell us in the budget document that budgets are both summations of our finances and expressions of our future aspirations. So let's just off the top have you tell us very briefly, and then we'll get into more detail, what is aspirational about this budget?
You know, it's about our future. It's about investing in our children and grandchildren. It's about ensuring that we leave something better for them, investing in their education and their skills and training to prepare them for the jobs of tomorrow. It's investing in our transit and transportation and infrastructure. Another deficit that must be resolved is around infrastructure. We can't neglect that, so that we're enabling them to be more competitive in the future, enabling them to get around our province, frankly, our country more effectively, more efficiently. It's also about enabling us to protect retirement security, investing in our people as they get into those retirement years so that they're not left stranded in trying to make ends meet. And so many of them are doing that right now. So it's all about ensuring that we have a better future. And another big piece of this, of course, is becoming more innovative and more efficient around improving our climate and attacking pollution. Ontario has taken a great lead in that already. We want Ontarians and the people of Ontario to benefit from some of those initiatives.
Okay, let's get into some details here. I'm going to read a short excerpt from the budget, then have you comment on it. The government, you tell us, will further increase social assistance rates in 2015 by 1% for adult Ontario Works clients, that's basically people on welfare, and people with disabilities receiving Ontario Disability Support Program benefits. Ontario Works single adults without children will receive a total increase of $25 per month, giving these recipients $75 more per month than they had in 2012. My question is, how aspirational does that really sound to you?
You know, Steve, you're probably well aware of the Munir-Sheikh report that came out a couple of years ago, suggesting and recommending that we provide for greater support for those on social assistance without penalizing many who also want to work. And this is an attempt to do just that. It's about breaking the cycle of poverty, trying to ensure that more people are better off than they have been. And we need to continue to address that. You know, the simple answer by many is to make and not to invest in these programs because they feel that it's too expensive. And in fact, some are suggesting we go across the board and slash and burn on programs such as this. We know it's essential for the well-being of these individuals, and we want to make certain that no one's left behind. Having
said that, though, you're only increasing, well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because having said that, you're increasing the amount not even by the rate of inflation, and these are the most vulnerable people in our society, and you're a Liberal government. Is that really the best you could do?
You know, this is the third consecutive year that we've done to increase support for those on social assistance. And we recognize that it's important to them, it's important to all our families, and we want to be able to provide for them, and we'll continue to do so. The best thing we can do is provide the environment to create more jobs and more opportunity. It's not about creating more government, it's about creating more opportunity to create those jobs and finding supports to do that. And we're working collaboratively in tandem to do so.
You say you are on track to balancing the budget by 2017-18 by reviewing, renewing, and transforming all government projects. And I wonder if you could give us an example of one program that you have transformed that is therefore saving us money.
Well, the Ontario Drug Benefit is one. We're trying to find better ways to bill, dispense, and enable that program to find savings. And that's creating $600 million in savings by doing so. We're trying also to look at our youth in the justice system. That's creating a lot of costs, and we know that by changing some of the systems and programs, providing supports for them, enable us to save some money there as well. All of that is creating an ability for us to still deliver the quality services that Ontarians depend upon, but at much better care. This is not about looking at how to provide support for the provider, but provide support for the patient, and not being process driven, but being enabling for the patient care in healthcare, for example. So we're looking at more personal support workers, more nurse practitioners, more community health clinics, enabling more pharmacists to provide the services necessary at much lower costs and much more at home than as opposed to long-term care in a hospital. All of this enables us to save money going forward.
Having said that, let me follow up with this. Your budget papers show that in future you want to cut $600 million in program spending, a number you have not hit so far, a number your predecessor, Dwight Duncan, has not hit so far. You say you can do it without cutting education, without cutting health care, without cutting children's services. If you haven't been able to do it so far to balance the books, what makes you think you can in future?
Steve, we have actually been able to control our spending year over year. In fact, we have become the lowest cost government per capita anywhere in Canada. Our program spending is now at about 1.5%. That's the lowest anywhere. And we must ensure that we still provide the services and the care that's necessary and find the savings where we can. In fact, this year, we actually had a drop in revenue that was unexpected from corporate income tax. And yet, with that, we still recalibrated our spending and found an additional $1.6 billion in savings to move forward. Those are the kind of actions that enable us to get to balance.
I can't remember the last time the feds and the province brought down a budget in the same week, so this is a good opportunity for me to ask you what the biggest difference is between your budget brought down today and Joe Oliver's, the federal Conservative finance minister's, brought down a couple of days ago.
You know, all governments want to stimulate growth. We all want to do what's best for our citizens. And I think whoever's in power, their intentions are good. But I found that some of the decisions made in the federal budget is short-sighted and it is short-term. This budget is very long-term in focus for Ontario. We must look well beyond the next election and next election cycles. We got to think for the benefit of the future. We got to think about our environment too. We got to make certain that we have our companies investing in innovation and enabling us to have sustained growth over time. It's not enough to just cut across the board or cut transfers to the provinces. Ontario still provides $11 billion more to the rest of the Federation than it brings in. So we need to work more collaboratively on infrastructure, on transit strategies, on a pan-Canadian energy program. We have to do away with intergovernmental barriers. We've got to work collaboratively together. The federal government has taken a few steps, minor, but we have to do much more if we're really serious about investing in our infrastructure and investing in our people so that they can be competitive and be prepared for the new economy, the new manufacturing, the new technologies that's yet to come. We've got to be prepared for that.
Okay, Joe Oliver took quite a lot of criticism the other day because he's balancing his budget by raiding the contingency fund to the tune of about $2 billion. If you are finance minister in 17-18, when you say you will balance the books, will you give us your undertaking here tonight that you will not raid the province's contingency fund to balance the budget?
Steve, our contingency fund for next year, and we're estimating an $8.5 billion deficit, is $1 billion. The year after that, at $4 billion deficit, we're estimating $1.2 billion contingency, and the year to balance is also another $1.2 billion contingency. That is what we put in our budget. That's what we're committing to going forward.
Okay. People this year in the province of Ontario, if they drove a lot, essentially got about a $500 or $1,000 tax cut because the price of gas is so much lower now than it was, say, a year or two ago. And that raises an issue for me. Why didn't you move into that space and raise gas taxes, given all of what you want to do on infrastructure?
What we want is to provide greater disposable income for the people of Ontario to reinvest and stimulate economic growth in our economy. That's important. And when you're talking about gas tax, you're talking about the price of carbon in some respects. And we've now dedicated a component of those gas taxes into our infrastructure and into our transportation sector so that we can continue finding better and more innovative ways. But another aspect of this is our desire to work with the Western Climate Initiative, working with Quebec, British Columbia, Alberta even, in terms of trying to find ways to get involved in a cap and trade. That way we are controlling our emissions and also getting benefit from the innovation and the leadership that Ontario's taken in this regard. That is going to enable Ontarians to benefit even more. And I think that's more critical than finding ways to price our gas, as opposed to ensuring that the corporations and those that are polluting, finding ways to minimize and lower that pollution over time.
In our remaining moments here, I do want to ask you about one of the biggest ticket items in the budget, and that is the selling off of ultimately 60% of Hydro One, the company currently publicly held that transmits electricity across the province. You know, 15 years ago, the Mike Harris government tried this and eventually had to go back on its attempt to do it because the public outcry was so loud. Why should this movie end any better this time?
You know, we take lessons from mistakes made in the past. We've brought in many experts and individuals who provide advice. And the advice we're getting is broaden the ownership of some of the Ontario Hydro and enable it to be a growth company, enable more discipline to be implemented so that we can create greater value from that corporation. Ontarians will still be the largest shareholder of the corporation, and the corporation will be head officed right here in the province. It will be one of the leading corporations in Canada when it's established.
You keep saying, I do have to interrupt there for a second. Sorry, Minister. You keep saying Ontario, the province, is going to be the largest shareholder at 40% holdings. And I understand the private sector companies are going to be limited to 10% apiece. But if they all get together, they are the majority owners. So how exactly are we still in the driver's seat on this?
Well, one, the new Hydro One cannot set rates, unlike what happened with the 407, for example. I'm using that as an example. We're not selling a Hydro One 100% out, as was done with the 407, to a single consortium. We are actually doing this in staged approaches. We are appointing the chair of the board, we're appointing the rest of the board, and we're enabling certain conditions to protect the interests of the public. One being, they cannot move the head office outside of Ontario. And other ones, we have the discretion to revamp the board at our desire. At the same time, we're sourcing out and looking at changing and moving forward to see how we can improve the executive team so that we can find even greater savings in the system. It's working collaboratively with the individuals who run other companies to find savings in Hydro One. But there is a rival that's taking place, right? We have a merged entity between Brampton, EnerSource, Horizon, and PowerStream, who are going to also be created, and that'll be even almost as big as Hydro One, almost as big as Toronto Hydro. And these are independent organizations that also offer services, and they will set the bar as to how Hydro One should run going forward in terms of its efficiency and effectiveness. That creates greater value for Hydro One. That means greater dividends for the shareholders, and the largest shareholder will continue to be the province of Ontario and the people of Ontario.
I think the people of Ontario, though, and I don't purport to speak for them, but I have heard from them, from many of them, they are wary of these kinds of deals because they see that the people who tend to get rich are the Bay Street firms, which get huge fees in making these deals. And I wonder if you could commit to them that that's not going to happen this time. We're not going to get hosed on fees and that kind of thing.
So I have gone through the review and looked at similar deals that have happened in the past. For example, CN, Air Canada, and other Crown corporations that were made public. The fee structures that have been established are much lower than that was been in the past. The folks understand that that's to be so. We're going to put this out for tender. We are looking at the various proponents that may want to proceed forward, and they're going to have to be subject to some of the conditions that we put in place. And those include lower fees than before. It also means enabling us to take this in a step approach. The initial public offering is only for 15% of the company. Ontarians will still have the largest shareholders, I said before. We'll still take a step approach to determine the best way to move forward. And we must provide, though, greater integrity in the way we do that business, right? We want to have the discipline of some of the private sector operators who are able to generate greater value for the corporation. But, as I said before, they will not be able to set the rates. That'll still be independently held by the Ontario Energy Board. There's still going to be a separate ombudsman to ensure that consumers are protected. And we commit to doing that so that everybody benefits going forward. All of it, of course, is to generate the gain from that asset to be reinvested dollar for dollar in infrastructure and in transit, in public transit. We know that for every dollar we input there, we get $1.60 back. That's a much greater return on our investment than what we have right now.
Minister, I know you've had a long day, so I'll simply leave it there and say thanks for showing up on TVO tonight, as you have now for 3 consecutive budgets. We appreciate you joining us on TVO.
Thank you, Steve. All the best.
Okay, time now for the opposition to have its say on today's Ontario budget, and with that we welcome PC finance critic Vic Fideli, the MPP for Nipissing, NDP finance critic Catherine Fife, the MPP for Kitchener-Waterloo, and Kevin Labonte. He's the finance critic for the Greens and wishes he was the MPP for London North Centre, where he ran last time but just came a little short.
I
tried. Yes, well, that's all we ask, is that you try. Okay, you heard the Minister of Finance, Vic Fideli. First reactions.
Well, what we saw what we saw were a lot of numbers that are going to cause your hydro rates to skyrocket. What we saw were cuts in healthcare and education that are coming. The Auditor General told us if you don't drastically change the direction you're headed, you're going to crowd out all those services that are important to us, and there's no drastic change here. Spending is up $2.4 billion, and we just saw more of the same.
Catherine Fife.
So, you know, just watching the minister there, and of course we were in lockup all day as well, he called the federal budget short-sighted, which is really interesting because this budget, a good component of it anyway, is based on the sale of Hydro One. And if you go through that budget, Hydro One and OPG are one of the only tax revenues actually that we saw come into the province, into the coffers. So essentially, I mean, this is a government that's determined to sell a strategic public asset for a short-term cash grab to fund infrastructure, but only to 3%. If you look at that $4 billion of the $130 billion that they're promising, and of course they've made other promises and they've broken lots of promises as well, it's such a small amount of money that to take such a risk for, because that's annual money that we're going to be losing down the line. I mean, that is short-sightedness by definition, and it's really concerning actually for a lot of Ontarians, Steve.
Kevin Labonte.
Yeah, like most Ontarians, I'm excited about the investment in infrastructure, which is badly needed. Successive governments have let it decline into the state of crumbling that it is today, and we really need public transit. But what I'm most disappointed in is that they haven't even addressed exactly, the right options to fund that. And it's not by selling off our assets. It's actually by looking at the revenue tools that their own experts suggested about 2 years ago. But they were scared of, being in a minority government from actually implementing those. And now that they have a majority, they're still scared. The NDP, they slapped them pretty hard, and they seem to be still feeling from that.
Let's look at the deficit. You heard me, Vic Fideli, ask the minister how he planned to get to balance by 2017-18 when there are plenty of skeptical people out there, including, I think, a guy named Vic Fideli who writes this Focus on Finance, a look into Ontario's finances. Can they do it? Can they get to balance by 17-18?
Not on the path that they're on. All of the experts, Moody's, who downgraded them, Fitch, who downgraded them, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, who said we're in a state of crisis, the Auditor General, who only in December told us we're spending at a pace faster than we're growing. None of the experts say that we can do this without a drastic change. What we saw here was a little bit of a shell game with the numbers. They announced the infrastructure, and I agree, Kevin. Nobody is happier than all the three of us sitting here learning about the growth in infrastructure right across Ontario.
You all like that?
I would think
everybody's
that we all
signing on to that. Okay.
But the $130 billion that they announced is exactly the same $130 billion they announced last year. There is absolutely not one penny of new money, even though the Premier talked about we're going from $29 billion to $31.5. No, hang on a second. It's still $130 billion. But when they announced it last year, they told us they would have to have asset sales that added up to $3.1 billion over 4 years, and that would get them to the $130 billion. Now they're telling us they need to sell about $12 billion in assets. So what happened? Where's that $9 billion hole? So it appears that what they're doing is taking the asset sales, putting it into transit, but taking the money they had already had lined up for transit and putting that against the deficit. So that's the long way to say they're fudging the numbers by balancing the budget through the sale of assets.
I'm looking for the line here.
Fluffed.
Yeah, you say fluffed in here. That's right.
Fluffed
you say
the
fluffed
numbers.
in this one. I know earlier today in the budget lockup you said it's a shell game, the way they're moving all this around. My question is, why is that relevant? If they're still prepared to spend $31 billion on transport that you guys all support, what's the big deal?
Because they're being disingenuous to the public. It's the same money they were spending last year when they didn't need the asset sales. So something fell off the rails. If you had planned to spend $130 billion and only needed to sell off $3 billion, but now you have to sell off Hydro One $9 billion worth, OPG's headquarters, LCBO's warehouse. All of these assets now need to be sold to still come up with the $130 billion you were at last year. That tells us you have spent that money elsewhere and you need it to balance. So it's the fact that they're disingenuous and they're only plugging it. That is selling the furniture to heat the house. What are you going to sell next year now?
And they did open the door for other asset sales. I mean, there's, you should hold on to your chair there, Steve, because I think that everything in the province is going to be up for sale. That's how desperate they are for revenue. And where they are making their cuts, so there was 6% cuts in every ministry last budget, except for education, healthcare, justice, and children and social services. And but those cuts they still found backdoor ways to actually make cuts in those ministries. This budget has 5.5% cuts, and the cuts are short-sighted indeed, because on the healthcare front, for instance, there's no comprehensive strategy for senior healthcare or dementia strategy, which actually sends people to emergency rooms. So these are not well thought out cuts to frontline services, and all the while this government has denied it. And this is all happening with a low Canadian dollar, a thriving U.S. economy. Even the Minister of Finance said, we're enjoying this reprieve. This is the time to be strategic about job creation, and because that's the revenue side of the house that's not been covered in this budget.
Well, let me ask you about deficit reduction. Do you think it's important that the province balance its books by 17-18?
Well, not if it's actually going to cost us more money down the line, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing cuts to education. You never cut education in times of austerity, and the Liberals created these times of austerity through their own fiscal mismanagement.
They say they are not cutting education. They say they're funding education the same today as they did last year, despite declining enrollment.
Well, we can challenge them on that because we see the schools closing, we see the classrooms closing, we see the growing special education list. You are going to see 7 school boards challenge this, education trustee premier on the class size cap. 38 kids in the class is not smart for anybody in the province of Ontario.
I think I read somewhere in the budget that in the primary division they've got 90% of the classes with 20 kids or fewer.
Yeah, I have some teachers in Waterloo Region who can show you larger classrooms, Steve.
Kevin, is it important that the province balance its books by 17-18?
Well, I actually agree with Catherine on this. I don't think that this is necessarily a time to be doing this. We should be taking advantage of the dollar being as competitive as it is and the oil prices being as low as they are.
So you'd be prepared to allow them to skate on that balanced budget commitment?
I would in regards to, if they can invest that money wisely, the savings they get from those assets. I actually do think that they are probably going to balance this budget at 2017. I just don't think we're going to like how they do it.
It's interesting that you say that because Alan Odette, who's the head of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and who's a Liberal, put out a press release today saying we have grave doubts that they're actually on a track to balance the books. Would you give them a year to skate? I mean, if it was a question of allowing them to go to 18-19 before balancing the budget, make it a little easier, a little less disruptive in people's lives, is that okay?
No, it's not okay because we need to take the medicine one of these days. Business do not like to invest in jurisdictions that can't manage their own money, because what they know will happen is they're going to go after them for a tax increase, or they're going to put their hand in their pocket. Already here in Ontario, we have the highest energy rates in North America, which is really a deterrent to business. We have the highest payroll taxes in Canada, another deterrent to business. We've got the government that can't balance their books, and that's a huge deterrent to business because they know they're going to pick their pockets. So no, we've got to balance the budget and stop the exodus. 2,700 companies left Ontario last year.
Let me ask about tax policy. Ostensibly, there's one tax increase in this budget, a very small one on beer, going to raise $100 million. Not very much in a budget that's going to spend $131 billion. Are those the only tax increases, Vic Fideli, in this budget?
No, not at all. This is year 2 of the aviation fuel tax, so another penny. That's 25 million on its way to the 100 million. You've got the Ontario Registered Pension Plan, which that we call it the pension tax. Their own government documents tell us will cost us minimum 18,000 jobs in Ontario. Maximum 54,000 jobs. That is a 1.9.
That was a ministry briefing note that may or may not resemble reality. You know that, right?
Oh, I think it's a very serious briefing note. It was the briefing note to Kathleen Wynne when she became premier. They laid out the situation. It's a 1.9% increase to the employer, a 1.9% tax increase to the employee.
Still 2 years off, though.
Well, it's going to scare businesses away. Look at, we heard from Magna one day, the day after it was announced, that will cost them $36 million alone, and they will never invest in Ontario again. That's why we've got to stop these other hidden taxes.
But there are some tax reforms in there that actually are going to drive away jobs as well. I mean, look at the Ontario film industry.
Yep.
So you're going to take tax credits away from a very progressive, successful industry, especially for Toronto.
Well, they say
$89 million by 2017.
But the dollar's less. I mean, the dollar's lower now. So they don't need it as much.
But this is the ironic thing, Steve, is that something is working well. Like the Ontario film industry draws jobs to Ontario. The economic spin-off on that industry is profound, and yet this government is having a slash at them. So, you know, tax credits actually are a progressive way to monitor what successful programs are doing, and they pay off down the line.
They're cutting the tax credits on the apprentice program as well, the digital media.
They're taking away the private sector on apprenticeships when we have one of the highest youth unemployment rates in Canada. So this is it's like they're taking and they're giving all at the same time, and they're doing this all under really what is very much an austerity budget,
okay,
and that's what I'm going to say about this budget. That's what it is.
You're calling it an austerity budget.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Let's spend our remaining moments here talking about the Hydro One sale, because unlike Mike Harris of 15 years ago, they're not planning to sell off 100% of Hydro One. They are planning ultimately to sell 60% of it. Yes, the majority, but still, as you heard Charles Souza say, the majority. The largest single chunk, 40%, stays in the province of Ontario's hands. Kevin, you okay with that?
No, actually, I thought it was very telling when they would mention Banting and a few other notable historical Ontarians, not one mention of Adam Beck, because
who created Hydro in the first place.
And so we don't. There's other options that they could take. They had the Metrolinx and the Baldwin report that laid out revenue tools that they could implement that were actually consumer revenue tools. So the more you consume, the more you pay. They could have brought those in, but instead they're selling off assets that actually bring in money to the province.
Vic Fideli, the Hydro One sale?
I don't like the way they're doing this. While I'm not opposed to the sale of an asset, if you use the cash properly from the sale of an asset, in this case there's a $27 billion mortgage on Hydro One. They're selling $9 billion, and instead of putting the $9 billion into Hydro One mortgage, which would help reduce hydro rates, they're going to hive off $4 billion of it to ostensibly lower the deficit, but they're only putting the $5 billion in. So we've lost the revenue now from 60%, but we still have the mortgage unpaid. They'll have to raise hydro rates to pay off the mortgage. That's the sin in all of this.
Well, they don't raise the rates, right? It's the Ontario Energy Board that decides or doesn't how high the rates can go.
You owe a mortgage, right? You owe a mortgage on Hydro One. How are you going to pay it? You have to get money from somewhere.
And people don't have a lot of confidence in the Ontario Energy Board to actually ensure that rates are competitive. And once shareholders are part of this equation, I mean, we've been down this road before. Then 2002, the PC started down this road, and prices went up 3 times. Energy rates, hydro rates have gone up 3 times over the last decade. So we've learned this lesson, but Kathleen Wynne has not learned this lesson, and she did not run on selling off Hydro One, Steve. If you talk to the average Ontarian, they're furious that this is actually on the agenda. It was disingenuous for her to put it on the table right now. She did run on reducing auto insurance rates. That has not happened in the province of Ontario.
7%.
7%.
They haven't hit the 15 target.
They're hit and misses, right? I mean,
but are you saying No sell-off of any percentage of Hydro One at all, not even a minority percentage of it?
No, I think hydro is an essential service, and based on where we've gone before and what we've learned, we know that those prices are going to go up. Once shareholders are in the room, they are there to make a profit, and the people who lose are the people of this province, and they are going to pay for this budget.
Do you think that, as they describe it, private sector dynamism brought to bear on the affairs of Hydro One could make it a more efficient company, therefore they could save some money, therefore it would mitigate against higher rates?
No one would have ever predicted that Kathleen Wynne would have been such a privatization guru, really. I mean, who needs a past president of a bank to actually do the work for you? She's a huge P3 proponent, even though the Auditor General identified $6.5 billion in high financing costs. She is redirecting money to the wrong places, looking for savings in the wrong places, and there's nothing progressive about this budget.
Nothing?
Nothing.
You can't find one progressive thing in this budget?
No, I mean, even the revisions around OSAP, you know, that they're going to try to claw back extra. They're going to go after students because they have high debt. The reason students in this province have high debt is because we have the highest tuition in the province, in the country. So they really, I mean, they are playing a very, I mean, the messaging, obviously, I mean, they're very good at messaging. I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, it's the people of this province who are going to pay for this budget, and it's going to hurt for sure.
How about going to your supermarket buying beer? 450 grocery stores are going to be allowed to sell beer now. What do you think of that idea?
See, Steve, this is the shiny bauble to have us talking about beer and wine.
I saved it for the last 2 minutes. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it.
Instead of the fact that there's debt and deficit in Ontario. So first of all, I live in Northern Ontario. I can drive to the gas station in LD, Ontario, and buy beer and wine.
You have agency stores there already.
This is not this is not revolutionary. They think this is the most revolutionary thing since Prohibition. This is all to stop us from talking about the real cuts that are happening in Ontario. In North Bay, we've had 94 healthcare workers fired this year, including 54 nurses, all full-time, 34 part-time fired this year.
The government doesn't hire and fire nurses.
I'm afraid they do.
How?
We've had 43
hospitals hire and fire nurses.
It's the funding. Because we have a $10.9 billion deficit this year, they have stopped the funding. We had 43 workers at Ontario Northland fired this year. We've had 54 university workers fired this year, including 22 professors. So when you tell me there's no cuts in health or education, there's 200 in my city this year that have happened.
You have a vote. You're going to vote against it in the legislature?
Our caucus has read the budget. We spent 7 hours in the lockup today, and we are voting against the budget because we provided 5 solutions and none of them were acted on. What's the NDP going to do?
There's nothing progressive about this budget. We can't support it. It's not in the best interest of the people of this province. And quite honestly, over the last year, if the track record speaks volumes, it's this government isn't even willing to work with us on any of these options.
You don't have a vote, Kevin, but if the Greens were in the legislature, how would they vote on this budget?
Well, this is definitely a budget that we wouldn't be supporting. We think that there should be more talk about revenue tools and actual details on some of these plans that they're planning to bring in, such as the retirement plan. There's no details on it. It's simply this. It's a plan to make a plan, and that's what this budget seems to be. It's using the same numbers as the last budget and continuing on. Although I did find it interesting that our Conservative friend here, Vic, is talking about cuts when that's what was ran on by Hudak last year was all about cuts.
I believe the expression is that was then, this is now.
Very much. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad you could come into TVO tonight. Vic Fideli, the PC member for Nipissing, Catherine Fife, the NDP member for Kitchener-Waterloo, Kevin Labonte, who wishes he was the Green member for London North Centre. Thanks, everybody, very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.